Hi everyone, I'm back with an all-new video for you on a fun challenge I recently took on for myself. I've been a long-time subscriber to the Simon Says Stamp Card Kit, and I wanted to share with you my creations using materials from this kit. These kits always come with a ton of supplies that always makes about 10 cards, but actually can make so many more as well. Today's kit is from April 2016. Here's an idea of everything that comes inside the kit. There's 8.5 by 11 cardstocks. There's 12 double-sided sheets of cardstock from Simple Stories, both backgrounds and sentiment images as well. There's 8 sheets of coordinating stickers from Simple Stories, and there's script fonts and tiny little banners and all sorts of images there as well. There are 16 decorative clips from Simple Stories as well, and these are like plastic paper clips type of deal on those. And then there's an exclusive stamp set from Simon Says Stamp and also an embossing powder, which I forgot to show. So on to card 1. First, I cut down my card base from one of those 8.5 by 11 cardstocks. Then I trimmed down a sheet of this turquoise and also a sheet of this yellow striped pattern. I also trimmed down this beautiful floral pattern that I'll be using as my card base layer. And then I went to the sticker sheet and grabbed the hello sentiment and placed that directly on top of the turquoise. And I also grabbed a tiny little red heart to adhere right on top of that hello sentiment. I adhered the whole thing down using some foam adhesive, and that completed card number 1. So on to card 2. For this card, I cut out a corner of a sheet of 6x6 paper that had a nice little sentiment on it. And then I cut apart this grid pattern so that I would only use some of those black and white images from the grid pattern. I took those pieces and cut them down even further to create kind of a mosaic tile type of deal. And when I was satisfied with the number of shapes I had, I just adhered them together onto the card using some multimedia glue. I then used another monotoned sheet here, which is that black and white polka dot pattern, and adhered all of that down using some foam adhesive as well. And that completed card number 2. On to card number 3. For this card, I cut apart a sheet of 8.5 by 11 cardstock in blue, and using my scoring board, I made a nice crease for the fold of the card. I then used the remaining piece of a sheet of 6x6 paper to collect my background image, and I then cut down that piece a little bit to fit the front of the card. I also cut down this yellow vibrant color here as a background for my sentiment piece. I adhered all these layers together using some ATG and laid them all flat down onto the card base to create card number 3. So on to card 4. For card 4, I used this red and white polka dot pattern. I also cut down some small pieces from another sheet of pattern paper to get my sentiment for the card, which says hello. And then I went back to the sticker sheets and used several in a row to make a border across the page. I adhered the top hello sentiment with some foam adhesive, and the border here was placed straight down onto the card using some ATG, and then I just trimmed off the excess paper that's hanging off the edge. And that completed card number 4. Now on to card 5. I'm using a red sheet of cardstock here. This cardstock's really thick, so again I scored it first and then folded it and creased it. I then trimmed down this strip of 6x6 paper, which includes a gorgeous floral pattern and sentiment. I also trimmed down this wood grain pattern. I trimmed down that strip even further to create 4 little rectangles to hold my sentiment together, and adhered all of that using foam adhesive again. And that was card 5. For card 6, I'm using the other side of that red cardstock and some of the leftover strips from the previous cards that I've made to create this pattern across the front of my card. These came together relatively quickly and just goes to show that you can use a ton of scraps just to make another beautiful card. So again, I cut down a floral pattern here and adhered my sentiment right atop of that and used foam adhesive to put the entire card together. On to card 7. For card 7, I'm using the white cardstock to create my card bases. And this cardstock is extra thick, so it needed some scoring as well. Again, I had a lot of scraps and bits of paper at this point, so I decided to layer some of them together and create my focal point. As you can see, even the skinniest, tiniest sliver of paper can be used to create a card. I used the stamp set to stamp several dots onto the center of the card and emboss those using that embossing powder from the kit. I then used several of the banner shape stickers at the edge of the sentiment in coordinating colors, and then I felt like I needed a little something extra, so I grabbed this little crimping machine gadget that I have and crimped a sheet of the blue and adhered that down onto the card to finish off this card. Now we're on to card 8. For card 8, I am using a similar sentiment to the previous card, and again I'm going with the yellow stripe pattern and adhering that straight atop of the card base. To add some extra pizzazz to the card, I used one of those plastic clips. On to card 9. For card 9, I used my last sheet of 8.5 by 11 cardstock to create the last two card bases. I cut out a small sentiment from the 6 by 6 sheet that says thinking of you, and I also cut down another piece that had a striped floral pattern image in a rectangle. And to make the two fit, I just used an X-Acto knife and sliced it right at that center point. I also used my X-Acto knife to create a border image for this card. I'm just trimming down my edges here, and then I used the pink negative on the base of my card, and then I used this foam adhesive to adhere the border of the card around that pink. And that was the border of the card. To finish off this card, I just adhered a little sticker on top of that floral pattern, and that completed the card. For card 10, I just used some of the sticker sheets to create a border again, and then some of these beautiful arrows just atop. This one came together really quickly. It had a nice little scripty font, so I used the word lovely, and then again I used a couple of the scraps that I had in the floral pattern and the dotted pattern to finish off this card. Now here's a closer look at all 10 cards. I ended up with a ton of supplies left over and barely made a dent into it. The only item that I ran out of was the cardstocks for the card bases. I think a kit like this is a fantastic bang for buck, and that you can create a ton of projects. When it comes to coordinating patterns and colors, it's all done for you, so it's fantastic. I'm so glad you're here, and I thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a fantastic day, and I will see you guys next time. Thanks so much. Bye!